Hello students, welcome back to PACE Academy. Now we are continuing with the next topic, that is part of the morphology of the flowering plant, that is what are the regions of the root. So as you know, you have different types of roots, but the root is also having specific structures and specific regions along with the modifications which are seen inside it. So what are the regions of the root? There may be four zones that are present, that is root cap region or the base or the tip, region of meristematic activity. What does meristematic activity means? What? Where there is maximum amount of cell division, elongation zone, and finally the maturation zone where the cells are being matured. Please note down these four regions because in your examination they'll ask you to arrange them from tip to the base. So what is root cap region? So when you see this picture, you will come to know the root is covered at the apex by a timber-like means cup-shaped structure called root cap. So here you can see the tip. This is having a structure which is differentiated, right? That structure is called as root cap and it protects the tender. What is the cap doing? It is protecting the tender and sensitive tip and is helping the tip to move. As you all know, tip is the area where the growth is taking place or which is pushing the soil and trying to make space for the root to grow. So that tip should be protected, right? So tender apex of the root as it makes its way through the soil. So when it is going through the soil, it is helping to protect the tip and also create a space. So that is root cap. And it is generally found in mesophytes and xerophytes. Mesophytes and xerophytes means what? Mesophytes are the organisms which are having the ability to live in medium type of or middle type of temperature and water availability. Whereas xerophytes are the organisms or the plants which are living in scanty water availability or less amount of water is available in that region and absent in the hydrophytes. Hydrophytes means what? They are having more than the required amount of water or having much amount of water. The plants are growing directly in the water. So this type of plants are called hydrophytes. Next, in free floating hydrophytes, as you know, when you have seen the lotus, so what is it? It is trying to float over the water. So free flowing or free floating hydrophytes, root pockets are present, or root, instead of root caps there are something like pocket, very thin and easily flexible material called as root pockets are present. Next region is meristematic region. It should be just above the root cap. So here it is the meristematic region. So what does this meristematic region do? It is having the ability to divide. So when you see this, a few millimeters only in mm the length is present of this meristematic region above the root cap or just above the root cap, when you see, is called the meristematic zone. And it consists of apical meristem. Apical means the apex. Meristem means where the multiplication or maximum amount of division takes place. The cells of this region are very small, thin walled and have dense protoplasm. They are small, they are having thin wall and also high amount of protoplasm, which is also called as the ground substance. They divide repeatedly, as I said many times. The main characteristic feature of this region is division, multiple divisions taking place. That is, the entire growth of the root depends on this zone. So how fast the root is able to penetrate the soil also depends on this region, because the number of cells or maximum division is taking place in this region. Coming to the elongation zone, from the name you can see elongation means it is trying to increase in its length. So the area, when you observe, this is the elongation region where whatever the cells which are being produced in the meristematic region are being pushed towards the elongation region, which is again helping in increasing the length of the root. So the region proximal to the meristem, proximal means always that side, distal means towards the base or the apex. So region of elongation is called region of elongation. In this region, when you see, cells undergo rapid elongation. Whatever cells are there, they are increasing in its length and enlargement and are responsible for the growth of the root. Next is maturation zone. So the cell whichever is produced in the meristematic region is small, in the elongation region it has elongated, and finally it is completely matured in the maturation zone. So this is the region of maturation. When you see, it is proximal to the elongated region, it is towards the base. In this region, cells gradually differentiate and mature. And what does maturity means? That the cell is defined, or the cell is given a specific function, and all the parts of the cells are well developed. Here, secondary growth occurs in maturation region. What happens? First the cell has grown, the primary complete growth has taken place. Again when the growth will take place, after attaining its specific function when the growth is taking place, that is called as secondary growth. Next, from this region, some of the epidermal cells, epidermal means the cells which are present on the outer region, form very fine and delicate. Fine means very thin, and delicate means they are easily breakable, thread-like structures called root hairs. Always root hairs are present on the outermost layer of the root. That's why we say epidermal cells. So these are the root hairs which are formed from the outermost layer of the root. Coming to the primary tissue formation occurs in this zone. Primary tissue means, as you know, plants are also made up of different types of cells. These cells group up together to form different types of tissues. So these tissues whichever are there are being formed in this zone, and the differentiation of function is taking place here. Epidermis outermost layer, cortex middle layer, stelae first appear in this zone. So when you see root hair, what it is doing? Whatever the thin fine hair like structures are present, they are helping in the absorption of water and also minerals from the soil. So it is thin and easily the water can pass through its membrane, so it is called as root hair. Let's do some MCQs on this topic, that is thimble-like structure is root cap, as we all know. So the base is the root cap. Next, what region comes above the root cap? The meristematic zone. So what is the answer? Region of meristematic activity. The cells of this region are very small and thin walled. Again, the answer would be region of meristematic activity. Epidermal cells from very fine and delicate structures, what are they? Are they root caps, xylem, root hairs, or cuticle? Your answer would be root hairs. So what are the modifications? Now we have studied about the general structure of the root, how the root is formed, or what are the parts of the root. Now different plants have adapted to different environment and have undergone many changes or modifications. So what are the modifications of the root? When you observe, there are different types of modifications or changes. But what does modification? A change or deviation occur in the structure of the root. Any change from the normal root structure that we have read about is called modification. Why we are having this change of their root structure? To perform new functions like which are suitable to the surroundings environment are called root modification. So in the environment in which they are living or the surroundings in which they are living, to adapt to that type of surroundings, these are undergoing some sort of modifications. You can see roots in small plants or some plants change their shape. They are changing their shape only, or they are changing their structure. So how they are able to see, you have seen the coralloid root. So there is some bulging area in it, or there is some bulges in the entire root system. This is nothing but change in the structure and become what? They become modified to perform functions other than absorption. So the normal functions, absorption of minerals and water, if you are putting apart that function, these specialized roots have some other function of their own. Like they are modified for supporting the plant, because some plants may be present in high wind blowing areas. So if the support is good, then only they are able to sustain there, right? So that's the reason the roots are helping in support, modified roots. Storage of food. So storage of food, again when you see, They are like the potato or the radish or the carrot. All of these are nothing but modifications of the root to store food materials. Respiration, that is, some plants which are always living in water, they cannot get maximum amount of oxygen, so they are pushing, or in the marshy areas where the sand or the soil is mixed up with water and it is not having any oxygen trapped inside it, what does this plants do? They send their roots above to the surface, where the roots are being pointed above and the roots are having specialized cells which can take up the air. That's the reason it is called respiration or climbing. Climbing means what? Tendrils. You may have seen the plants which are having thin stem and they have the ability to climb over different structures that are put for support. So, for example, here you can take the jasmine plant. The example, let's talk about the storage roots. So, what is the function or why we are having the storage roots? Roots are modified to store food materials are called as storage roots. Maybe starch or any other storage material which is having vitamins and minerals also in it. The roots become swollen due to the food deposition there, and which can be used. So it is being stored so that it can be used for the later stages. All these roots can be consumed by other organisms. In case of carrot, turnip and radish, food is stored in what? Tap roots. Please note it down. They'll ask you what are the storage type of, what are the type of root system that is storing the food material in carrot. Then it should be tap root system. Plants also store, so plants will store roots are called as root crops. So this potato, this carrot, all are called as root crops, because the main material, the food that we are consuming is coming from the root. Carrot, also called as Daucus carota, is conical in shape. So you can see this is the carrot which is conical in shape. You can see the secondary roots coming out of the primary root which is storing the food material in it. Coming to radish, also called as Raphanus sativus. Note down the scientific name also. Raphanus sativus is spindle shaped. Spindle shaped means the apex is large and the tip is thin. Beetroot, also called as Beta vulgaris, is napiform. Napiform means you can see it is very bulgy at the base and very thin at the apex. Stores food in the tap root. Tap root means primary root is the area where the food is stored. This primary root again will give rise to small secondary roots, as you can see. Next, adventitious roots. Adventitious roots, as you know, other than the root or the radicle if the roots are emerging. So adventitious root is found in sweet potato. So this is sweet potato. Fibrous root. So whenever you see the base of the plant is having bunch of roots which are attached to the base, in that if the food is stored, that is called fibrous root. Food storage mechanism that is present in asparagus. So you can see asparagus, it is very thin root, but each of this root is having or is very good when you consume it. So these are the different types of storage. The carrot taproot, radish also taproot, then root tuber in adventitious root, that is dahlia or the asparagus. Then sweet potato is adventitious root. Why adventitious root? When you observe, the root is or the root which is present, which is giving rise to this sweet potato, is not a direct or is not emerging directly from the base of the stem, but you can see wherever the tendril is falling on the ground, it gives rise to these roots. So what could be those hanging structures that support a banyan tree? So you have seen a banyan tree which is having the hangings or the structures which are being pushed. Other than the main trunk, there are other structures which are called as roots. They are called prop roots or pillar roots. Why pillar roots? They are giving support to the plant. Prop roots or pillar roots is other modification that you are seeing. So the horizontal branches, horizontal means they are always in this plane. So the horizontal branches of the stem of the plant give rise to aerial roots. Why we are saying aerial roots? They are not growing under the soil, but they are coming and growing in the air from the stems or from the branches. That's the reason they are called as aerial roots. These aerial roots hang vertically downwards. So these whatever branches which are horizontal, perpendicular to it, the roots are being formed. So they are again towards gravity, so are also positive to the gravity. They act like pillars and support the plant. They provide mechanical support to the plant. Why mechanical support? If there is wind or if there is rain or any draft is there, in all those cases it is supporting the plant. Here you can see the main branch is surrounded by many of these pillar roots, prop or the pillar roots. Next is tilt roots, or also called as brace roots. So what are these? What are these tilt roots? They are nothing but adventitious roots. So what are adventitious root? When a bunch of roots are present, adventitious root means other than the radical if the roots are being formed. So adventitious root coming out of the lower nodes of the stem or which are present near to the base of the stem are called as tilt root or brace roots. They provide mechanical support to the plant with weak stem. So when the stem is weak, the extra roots that are forming other than the main root system near to the base are called as tilt roots. Example, maize, that is sea maize, and sugar cane will show this type of roots. So these roots other than the tap root which are coming out near, other than the adventitious root which are coming near the base are called as the tilt roots. And main function is support. Next is pneumatophores. Very important topic. Pneumatophores are helping in respiration of the plant. So many roots come out of the ground and grow vertically up. As you all know, roots will always grow towards the gravity. But these pneumatic roots are growing against the gravity and they are being, almost all the roots will go into the ground, but these roots will come out of the ground. They grow vertically above the soil and these are found in what? Mangrove plants. Why these mangrove plants are growing in marshy areas? Marshy means the mud and the water are mixed up. The soil and water are mixed up, which is not allowing, or there is no oxygen present inside the soil. That's the reason mangrove plants which are growing there have undergone this modification. They help to get oxygen for respiration. So what is mean by mangrove plants or these plants? Plants which are growing in saline. Saline means water which is containing more amount of salt in it. Swampy areas where mud and the water is mixed up so that it forms a junk like material with a low oxygen content is called as mangrove plants. Examples are, so can you see what are the pneumatophores? So this is the plant. If you think these all are plants, you are mistaken. All the outgrowths which are pointing towards the sky are nothing but pneumatophores. So what is the example? Rhizophyra. Here also you can see all these are what? These are pneumatophores. This is Avicennia. Next root is called the velamen root. So velamen roots are what? These roots are found in epiphytes. So epiphytes which are growing in and like Vanda, when you see are having this type of modification called as velamen roots. And what are they? What are these epiphytes? They are nothing but, epiphytes means the plants that grow on other plants. As you know, parasites which are growing on other organisms. In the same way, if a plant is taking nutrition or it is having some support from the other plant, they are called as epiphytes. Epi means above, phytes means above the other plants. So in these plants, the adventitious roots are specialized to absorb nutrition from atmosphere. Adventitious roots means the roots other than the main root which are being grown through the stem and or towards the leaves and all is nothing but adventitious root. Such roots are called as velamen roots which are taking moisture from the atmosphere. Example is, here you can see this is the big plant over which this small plant is growing. Example is Vanda. And these are the velamen roots here which are having some pores which are taking up the moisture or water from the air or atmosphere. Next modification of the roots is hostorial roots. So what are these hostorial roots? The roots which help in absorption of water and also food materials from the host plant. So these are not taking the water but also the minerals and other energy sources from other plant on which they are growing. So the nutrient content of the host plant is nothing but the organism which is allowing this whatever the other plant to grow over it. So this main host plant is giving all the required nutrients to this other plant growing over it. So these are called as parasitic roots. Why? As you know, parasites are not able to synthesize their own food, but they are taking up the energy from other organisms. In the same way, even these organisms which are having this hostorial roots are depending on other organisms for their survival. These are present in the parasitic plants. So very important question, please note down in your examination. They'll ask, what are the parasitic plants? Your answer should be having hostorial roots like Vanda. So parasites, partial parasites means they are having the ability to produce their own food, and partially they are depending on the other organism for water or for food material. Complete parasites means they don't have any function of synthesizing their own food but directly depend on other organisms for their food materials. Now what is partial parasites? They send the hostorial roots only into the xylem of host plant. Xylem is the element or the vascular tissue which is present in plants which is taking up water from the soil, whereas phloem is taking up the food materials. So if the roots are going into only the xylem, they are called as partial parasites. Example is, you can see here this main branch. Again you can see the small plant which is going on the main branch is viscum, also called as having incomplete stem parasite. These are the hostorial roots. As you can see, they are not brown but greenish in color. Then you can see here on the root only directly the another plant is growing. So on the root another plant is growing. It means what? It is taking the water from the xylem of the other plant. So this is the striga, which is incomplete root parasite. Next is complete parasite. So what is a complete parasite? They send the hostorial roots into both the xylem and phloem to absorb or to take up water along with the food materials from the host plant. Example is, this is the example where this twiner is taking up the materials, that is both the food and water from the host plant. So these are the hostorial roots. Always the parasites are having roots which are penetrating directly into the vascular tissue of the other plant. Here you can see these whichever are going into the plant, this structure is called the hostorial roots. Complete stem parasite. If the host plant will die, even the parasite will die because it is not having any amount of energy source. This is another Rafflesia. Complete root parasite. It is completely depending on the plant for xylem and also phloem. Next modification of the roots is nodular roots. Nodular, from the name itself, on the root there are many bulged out areas called nodes. So the small spherical shape, they are small and round circular in shape structure appear on the roots of the leguminous plants like the beans, which are having the function of fixing the nitrogen. So bacteria inhabit the roots to fix what? Atmospheric nitrogen. Whatever atmospheric nitrogen is there, that is being taken up by the forming nodules. So name of the bacteria that fix it is nothing but rhizobium. So rhizobium is a bacteria which is being present in the roots of these organisms and fixing the atmospheric nitrogen. Next, these bacteria perform what? Symbiotic nitrogen fixation. Symbiotic nitrogen fixation means what? The plant is also getting benefited on which this bacteria are present, and also the bacteria is also getting benefited. So both the host and also the organism which is living on the host, if both of them are interrelated and exchanging benefits, they are called as symbiotic organisms and supply nitrogenous material to the plants. These are found in the members of the family, that is Fabaceae, under which the beans will come. So example is, you can see the nodes here. So this is the entire root. You can see small bunched out areas in which the rhizobium bacteria is present. Legume plants with root nodules. Next modification of the roots is photosynthetic roots. From the name itself, it means that the roots are also having a function to generate energy, generate the starch with the help of photosynthesis or sunlight. So adventitious root, adventitious specifically I say roots which are grown in other parts other than the base of the stem, modified to perform photosynthesis, are called as photosynthetic roots. These are also called as assimilatory roots because they are trying to assimilate the food materials. These roots are always green in color because green means chlorophyll is present. If chlorophyll is present, it means it can undergo the photosynthetic process. So here they have given because of chlorophyll. Examples are, so these roots as you can see are green in color, but these are not leaves but roots of a plant, that is Theophyllum. These are the photosynthetic roots. Let's do some MCQs. Examples of the storage tap roots are, is it asparagus, carrot, sweet potato or banyan? Your answer would be carrot. That too tap root system. Examples of the fibrous root which stores the food is asparagus, turnip, sweet potato or banyan. Your answer would be asparagus, which is having adventitious roots. Hanging structures that support a banyan tree, are they tap roots, pillar roots, stilt roots or the velamen roots? It is nothing but pillar roots. From the name, pillar is supporting the building. In the same way, these roots are supporting the banyan tree. Which root modification or what are the root modifications helps to grow, get oxygen for respiration? Is it the velamen roots, hostorial roots, prop roots or pneumatophores? So answer would be pneumatophores, which are having the ability to take up oxygen when the organisms or the plants which are growing in marshy area or in the water area. Viscum and striga are examples for, are they partial parasites, complete parasite, nodular roots or photosynthetic roots? Your answer, see, we have studied the structure here. It is nothing but partial parasites. So here comes the end of the session where we have discussed about different modifications of the roots and how these modifications are helpful to the environment. Hope you are clear till here. Thank you.